Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating transformation happening right now in global healthcare. We're going to explore how artificial intelligence is completely rewiring the way life-saving medicines are regulated, tested, and monitored all around the world. It's a massive shift, so let's just jump right in.
I want to immediately hit you with a staggering number to put things into perspective. 200,000. That is the page count for just one single modern new drug application submitted to regulators today. Think about that for a second. If you actually printed that out, you'd be looking at a tower of paper literally stories high. And honestly, that image perfectly illustrates exactly why we need this explainer.
Section 1. The regulatory breaking point. The truth is, we have officially reached a breaking point. The old, linear, paper-based model of regulating medicine, where a team of human reviewers sits down to read, cross-reference, and manually synthesize all these findings, is completely dead. Regulators are drowning in an ocean of exponential data. To really grasp how authorities are desperately trying to keep up with an industry innovating way faster than humanly possible, our explainer today relies on this highly authoritative source, Harnessing Artificial Intelligence in Medicine Regulation by Fortunate and Bembe.
You see, the system is cracking under a bunch of simultaneous structural pressures. We already talked about the exponential growth of data, but add to that the accelerating pace of innovation. We all saw those highly compressed development timelines during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? Then, you factor in severe resource constraints. This is especially true in low and middle-income countries, where the shortage of trained assessors means the sheer demand is just completely outstripping capacity. And perhaps most critically, regulators aren't just dealing with simple chemical pills anymore. We are seeing a massive explosion in incredibly complex product modalities. We're talking cell and gene therapies, mRNA vaccines, and even AI-based companion diagnostics. You couple those complex treatments with heavily globalized supply chains, where a single medicine's journey from active ingredient to final packaging might span a dozen different countries, and you quickly realize that manual oversight just cannot possibly reach every node in that network.
Which brings us to a true digital imperative. As this quote from the World Health Organization makes abundantly clear, adopting modern technology is no longer just some side IT project you do when there's extra budget. It's a global operational mandate. But as the WHO strongly points out, it absolutely must be done safely, and we have to fully account for the associated risks.
Section 2. Enter artificial intelligence. So how in the world do we solve this insurmountable regulatory burden? The answer is artificial intelligence. We are moving away from a traditional model that was linear, manual, and always reactive toward an AI-driven model that is parallel, highly automated, and predictive. It is a fundamental reimagining of how these agencies operate. But as you know, AI isn't just one monolithic thing. Let's break down the three main flavors of AI that regulators are actually rolling out.
First up, we have Predictive AI. Right now, this is the most mature tool in the regulatory toolkit. It basically uses historical data to recognize patterns. Imagine a system constantly scanning global databases for adverse reactions to a drug, a process known as pharmacovigilance, and flagging a safety signal long before a human reviewer might ever catch the trend. It's also a game changer for risk stratification, letting regulators target their limited inspection teams precisely on the manufacturing facilities that pose the absolute highest risk.
Next is generative AI. This is where your large language models come into play. These systems create new content based on patterns learned from vast training datasets. For an overwhelmed regulator, this is a massive time saver. Generative AI can instantly summarize incredibly dense clinical trial data, automatically draft routine assessment reports, or even translate patient-facing product info into multiple languages. It basically frees up the human experts to focus on the heavy science, rather than just doing paperwork. Now let's look at the frontier, where this evolves into something even more advanced: Agentic AI. Instead of just executing one isolated task, Agentic AI systems coordinate multiple specialist AI agents to tackle complex, multi-step goals. In theory, an Agentic AI could orchestrate the assembly of an entire regulatory dossier, autonomously routing different items to the correct subject matter experts. But because this involves actual autonomous decision-making, it requires the absolute heaviest level of governance. Which leads us right into Section 3, the unique risks of AI. Look, because we are dealing with human healthcare here, AI is not just a magic wand. It brings some severe, entirely unique hazards that actively challenge our traditional regulatory frameworks. Two of the biggest traps we face are hallucinations and automation bias. Generative AI is remarkably fluent,
meaning it can confidently hallucinate completely fake facts that sound perfectly plausible. The real danger is automation bias. Human reviewers, who are already overworked, might start blindly trusting the AI's confident output and slowly dial back their own scrutiny.
Then we have the critical statistical risk of algorithmic bias. AI models learn exclusively from historical data, so if a model is trained predominantly on non-representative data, it can inadvertently perpetuate or even amplify existing health disparities. Our source material points out that global datasets often severely underrepresent African, South Asian, and Latin American populations. A predictive model that works flawlessly in one region might perform unreliably in another. Regulators have to actively test for this to ensure things are safe for everyone.
All of this begs a really vital question. Can we trust an AI that can't even explain its own math? A lot of these advanced systems operate as black boxes. Sometimes even the developers who built them can't explain exactly why the AI reached a specific conclusion. In healthcare, where accountability is everything, that opacity is a massive problem. It really highlights the urgent need for explainable AI, systems specifically designed to make their logic transparent and interpretable to human reviewers.
Section 4. The digital maturity model. So, how do regulatory authorities actually navigate both the incredible promise and the terrifying peril of these tools? Well, they map their progress across 5 distinct levels of maturity. Level 1 is the old, manual, drowning in paper world we talked about earlier. Level 2 is basic digitization, like simply having electronic document management. Level 3 connects those siloed systems together. The big goal is hitting level 4, which is intelligent, where AI and predictive analytics are deeply embedded in core processes. And finally, the holy grail is level 5, adaptive, featuring continuous organizational learning and seamless autonomous integration with international partners.
But here is the catch. You can't just skip straight to level 5. Before rolling out AI, an authority absolutely must complete a rigorous AI readiness assessment. This means evaluating their data infrastructure, ensuring the actual digital maturity of their staff, establishing incredibly strict governance frameworks, and confirming that their local legal environment even permits AI-assisted decisions. As early adopters are finding out, the biggest hurdle isn't usually buying the software. The real challenge is organizational culture and data readiness.
And this roadmap brilliantly brings it all together. It shows how the structural pressures on regulation naturally force us to understand core AI concepts, which in turn demands a properly managed, top-to-bottom digital transformation. You simply have to build a rock-solid foundation before you can safely unleash the technology.
So, what is the ultimate vision for the future of medicine regulation? It really boils down to 3 core qualities. A modern regulatory system must be intelligent, leveraging AI to pull life-saving insights from mountains of data. It must be resilient, using predictive tools to anticipate supply chain bottlenecks or safety threats long before they happen. And above all else, it has to be fiercely patient-centered, prioritizing actual, real-world health outcomes over mere procedural compliance.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty profound thought to wrap up this explainer. If artificial intelligence is realistically the only way we can process the massive mountains of data required to quickly approve the life-saving medicines of tomorrow, how do we ensure these algorithms never forget the human patients of today? It is an incredibly high-stakes balancing act between speed and safety, and getting it right is undoubtedly the defining challenge for the future of global medicine.